Hello and welcome back. My name is Alan, and today we are in with more notable names in Native American history for Native American History Month. Today we are looking at Sequoyah, the inventor of written Cherokee. And it's because Cherokee did not have a written system, it was just spoken by mouth. So there was no reading or writing it before Sequoyah. But yeah. Cherokee was just a spoken language. But Sequoyah was able to turn it into a written language. Let's go in and look at this here. Um, oh, by the way, image of Sequoyah painting. So, like I've already discussed, he invented the Cherokee alphabet. He was born to fur trader Nathaniel Gist and Wutehe, the daughter of a Cherokee chief, sometime in about 1770, near the old Cherokee capital of Ikota in Tuskegee, or Tuskegee, now flooded by Tellico Lake. Later in life, his English name would appear as George Guess, which you can find with the Treaty of 1828. Because of an affliction in his leg, he was known to the Cherokee as Sequoyah, which translates to pig's foot. Since he suffered physical limitations, he worked as a trader and carried out his mother's business at the trading post after she died in 1800. He would become a silversmith and blacksmith, creating tools. He was exposed to the English concept of writing early in life, but never learned the English alphabet. Then in 1809, after conversing with his friends over the idea at his shop, he began toying with the translating verbal Cherokee words into a written language. His project was put on hold with the War of 1812, but by October of 1813 he had volunteered to help fight the British. He would see action in the Battle of Tallahatchie in November of 1813 and Battle of Horseshoe Bend in March of 1814, before being discharged shortly after. The following year, he married Sally Waters of the Bird clan and continued working on creating a written language for his people, and quickly realized that creating a symbol for every word would be almost impossible. So instead he started paying more attention to the sounds that made up the words, so more of an idea of an alphabet. He discovered 85 syllables in the language and then created symbols to be used in the combinations for each word. He would first teach his brother-in-law, Michael Waters, before turning to his daughter, Ayoka, who became the first to read and write with this invention of an alphabet. In 1821, using his daughter as an example, he presented the alphabet to the tribe, and both were promptly charged with witchcraft. But luckily, an 1811 Cherokee law provided them with a civil trial before execution. The warriors brought in to judge the case were given demonstrations of Ayuka, sending written messages to her father, finally convincing them that the symbols on paper represented their verbal language. The warriors could read and write within a week, and the new Cherokee syllabary spread quick. In 1822, he presented to present-day Arkansas he headed to present-day Arkansas to begin teaching the written language, and in 1824, the General Council of Cherokee Nation voted to give him a silver medal to honor his creation. By 1825, much of the Christian Bible had been translated into Cherokee, and in 1827, it was used to write the Constitution of the Cherokee Nation. In 1828, the first national bilingual paper, the Cherokee Phoenix, was published. He would be awarded $500 by the U.S. government in January 1828 in the 1828 treaty, along with the land in present-day Sequoyah County, Oklahoma. In 1829, as part of the Indian relocation, Trail of Tears and stuff, he and 2,500 Cherokees moved to Indian Territory, Oklahoma. In exchange for land they had occupied in Arkansas, he would build a log cabin near Sallisaw, Oklahoma, which remains a National Historic Landmark today. Sequoyah would continue his teachings, but died in August of 1843 near San Fernando, Mexico, on a trip to villages in Texas. During the trip, his group was robbed of their supplies and horses north of San Antonio. Finding shelter in a cave, his party left him to try to secure replacements. Weeks passed, during which Sequoyah was forced from the cave by floodwaters, and when he was finally found, he had suffered greatly. The party then took him to the Mexican village, where he died. The Cherokee Nation wouldn't be notified of his death for 2 years. His invention would bring literacy to the Cherokee people and ensure the tribe's history wouldn't be lost. It continues to be used today, and he has been honored with a monument in Georgia, a bronze panel, at the Library of Congress, and the monument seen here in Cherokee, North Carolina. Right there it is. And a 1980 19-cent stamp by the U.S. Postal Service. The Sequoyah Birthplace Museum in Vonore, Tennessee, tells his life story. So yeah. And this information, legendsofamerica.com. But yeah. Let's look at Britannica now. Born around 1775 in Tuskegee. In the other one we just read, it was Tuskegee, or Tuskegee as it's known in English. Was known in English, at least. North Carolina colony, because remember, 1775, America's not free yet. We haven't put forth the Declaration of Independence. And would die August of 1843 near San Fernando, Mexico. Here it says he's probably the son of a Virginia fur trader named Nathaniel Gist, and Cherokee mother Wute of the Paint clan. Now remember, over here, she was like Wutese or something, or Wutehe. Here we have Wute. But born in the Tennessee country, never learned to speak, read, or write English. He was an accomplished silversmith, painter, and warrior, and served with the U.S. Army in the Creek War in 1813 to 14. He became convinced that the secret of what he considered the white man's superior power was written language. Because again, remember, Cherokee was a spoken only language, which enabled him to culminate and transmit more knowledge than was possible for the people dependent on memory and word of mouth. Around 1809, he began to develop a system of writing for the Cherokee, believing that increased knowledge would help them maintain their independence. Which, he's not far off. The educated are much better off than the uneducated, because you always have more minds at work who can think deeper about stuff to get more information. That's not to say the uneducated can't think deeply, but it helps to have that education there. Definitely. He experimented first with photographs and then with symbols, or pictographs and then symbols, representing the syllables of the spoken Cherokee language, adapting letters from English, Greek, and Hebrew. Yeah, pictographs, think Sumerian, Egyptian, basically pictures to represent something. His daughter helped him to identify the Cherokee syllables, and by 1821 had created a system of 86 syllables representing all the syllables of the Cherokee language. English isn't a syllable based language, it's an alphabetic one, or letter based. But syllable based languages do exist. Think Chinese, Japanese. I know I took Japanese for a couple years. Words like ni, neko, which Japanese for cat, is the syllable ne and the syllable ko, because it's all a, e, I, o, u, and then you go with the vowels in front. Mame mimo mu. Pape pipo pu. Tate tito tu. Well, I don't think there's a T. It's ta te chi to tu. Same with S's. Sa se shi so su. But yeah. Anyway. Sequoyah convinced the people of the utility of his syllabary by transmitting messages between the Cherokees of Arkansas, with whom he went to live, and those of the East, and by teaching his daughter and other young people of the tribe to write. The simplicity of a system enabled pupils to learn it rapidly. And soon, Cherokees throughout the nation were teaching it in their schools and publishing books and newspapers in their own Cherokee language. So see, they mentioned nothing about put on trial for thinking the writing was witchcraft. We don't know if that one on the last page was true or not. It's amusing, but still, yeah. Sequoyah's name, spelled Sequoyah, was given to the giant redwood trees out west on the Pacific coast and of the Sierra Nevada range. So yeah, you think of the giant redwood trees, and big sequoia trees. Yeah, that's where the name comes from. Word comes from Sequoyah. Now let's look at Wikipedia. Was a Native American polymath and neographer. It's a new word. Okay, someone who helps construct a writing system. But yeah, polymath means you speak multiple languages. I'm familiar with that word. Is an individual who knows knowledge, whose knowledge spans many different subjects, known to draw on complex bodies of knowledge and solve specific problems. They often prefer a specific contest. I'm going to be thinking a polyglot that speaks multiple languages. Anyway, yeah. Let's see, what else? Within a quarter century of adapting his written language, the Cherokee Nation had hit a literacy rate of almost 100%, passing even that of the European American settlers around them. So yeah. It is believed that the writing system, let's see, in recorded history, that an individual of a pre-literate group created an original effective writing system. So one of the few times. Of course, pre-literate is before reading. So interesting. It is believed to inspire the development of 21 scripts or writing systems used in 65 languages in North America, Africa, and Asia. So 65, 21 written alphabets were formed. You can only imagine this happened in other Native American tribes where it was spoken by written language, but apparently it also influenced in Asia and Africa. So again, you have certain tribes, certain peoples that had only a written or spoken history, not a written history. That they only pass things down verbally instead of writing them down. He would sign 2 relocation and land trading treaties in Washington, D.C. So not only did he develop the writing system, apparently he was important enough to help sign treaties. Though remember, we have a history of the U.S. not always picking the right people to sign deals because they didn't really care. They's like, look, sign it. It's like they didn't even try to work out negotiations with the proper peoples. Yeah. Early life. Few primary documents describe his life. Some anecdotes were passed down orally, but these often conflict or are vague about specific times and places. Now, see, in Britannica it said Tuskegee, Tennessee. But yeah, Tuskegee was an overhill Cherokee town located on the lower Little Tennessee River in what is now Monroe County, Tennessee. And it developed in the late 1750s alongside Fort Loudon and was inhabited until the late 1770s when it was forcibly evacuated and probably, let's see what this says, because that's kind of interesting, and forcibly burned during the Cherokee American Wars. So best known as the birthplace of Sequoyah. It was investigated in the 1970s as part of a survey and excavations of known sites prior to the inundation of the valley after completion of the Tellico Dam in 1979. So yeah. Interesting. But yeah, Britannica said North Carolina, while Wikipedia says Tennessee. It would be modern day Tennessee. But remember, when he was born, there was no Tennessee yet. It was still a part of North Carolina. So technically, both are right, but it will confuse you a little. saying he was born around 1778. I've seen so many different dates, but like they said, there's few primary early documents. 1778, 1775. Um, 1770. So yeah, so many conflicting dates. But we should probably expect it because knowing all these histories, especially when many white settlers did not care to help make it known. Though James Mooney, a prominent anthropologist and historian of the Cherokee people, quoted a cousin as saying that as a little boy, Sequoyah spent his early years with his mother. So, and yeah, for the Cherokee, apparently matrilineal kinship was their system. Children were considered born into the mother's family and clan, and her male relatives were most important to their upbringing. So it wasn't necessarily born in under the fathers, because our modern white society is a patrilineal kinship. You take on usually the father's name, and that's usually how systems of your history are usually even listed. But Cherokee, and they're not the only ones to do this. Again, there's other systems that do this. I think the Vacans were matrilineal. I know they gave a lot of power to the women. Anyway, they might have been matrilineal Vikings, but again, women in the society had a lot of power. His name is believed to come from the Cherokee word Sika, meaning hog. Historian John B. Davis says the name may have been derived from Sequoyah, either a hog or an opossum. I'm so used to just calling it a possum instead of an opossum. And V, meaning place or enclosure. This is a reference either to his childhood deformity, which was mentioned in the first article we read, that according to a descendant of his, he was born with the name Sequoyah. There's a bird inside, but after repeatedly failing to complete his farm duties, apparently it was changed to Sequoyah. There's a pig inside. The first article said he was named Pigsfoot. So, yeah, it has something to do likely with pig. And apparently he had an issue with his leg. It was either a child deformity or a later injury that left him disabled. So, his mother, Watay, is debated to be either the daughter, sister, or niece of a Cherokee chief. So yeah, she's related somehow. We don't know exactly how, which, again, other articles, both Britannica and the other one we read, she's connected to a Cherokee chief. But yeah. Let's see. Some historians believe she was connected to a pair of brother chiefs, Old Tassel and Doublehead. John Watts, also known as Young Tassel, was a nephew of the two chiefs. Okay, that's confusing. So it is likely that Watay and Watts were related in some fashion. Due to native customs, Sequoyah learned everything from his mother, such as the Cherokee language, and his first job as a tradesman. Sources differ as to the identity of his father. Some saying his father was a Virginian fur trader from Swabia named Nathaniel Gist. It's hard to say. But several different spellings. So, other sources state that his father could have been an unlicensed German peddler named George Gist, who entered Cherokee Nation in 1768, married, and fathered a child. Another source identified his father as Nathaniel Gist, son of Christopher Gist, who is one of the first settlers to come upon the area where my hometown is from. So yeah. Who became a commissioned officer with the Continental Army associated with George Washington during the American Revolution. Gist would have been a man of some social status and financial backing. He claimed by Josiah Knott that Gist was the son of a Scotchman, while the Cherokee Phoenix paper reported in 1828 that Sequoyah's father was half-blood and his grandfather a white man. So yeah, again, even on his parentage, so many conflicting reports. From the book Tell Them They Lie, the Sequoyah Myth, written by Traveler Bird, claims who Traveler Bird says he's a Sequoyah descendant, and says that Sequoyah was a full-blood Cherokee who always opposed the submission and assimilation of his people into the white man's culture. The encyclopedia noted that Traveler Bird presented no documentary evidence, but his account has gained some credibility in academic circles. Regardless, his father was absent before Sequoyah was born. He had no siblings, and his mother raised him alone. He spent much of his time tending cattle and working in the garden while his mother ran a trading post. Yeah, so the issue here, they mention he had an issue, but how, when, and where are not known. Some reports say caused by an injury in battle. Others say it was a hunting accident. Then we've got a written account that an early issue of the Cherokee Advocate said he was the victim of a hydroarthritic trouble of the knee joint, commonly called white swelling, and one doctor speculated that he had anascata, severe and generalized form of an edema with subcutaneous tissue swelling throughout the body. Okay. In any case, yeah, he had a able body issue because of this. Well, they called it a lameness, but yeah, lameness, disability situation. He wasn't schooled or schooled much at all, but he was very intelligent, as you kind of have to be if you're going to be working and creating your own language and stuff. He had devised and built milk troughs and skimmers for the dairy house that he constructed as a child. As he grew older and came in contact with more white men, he learned how to make jewelry. He became a noted silversmith, creating various items from the silver coins that trappers had and traders carried. He never signed his pieces, because remember, Cherokee was a spoken only language. So there are none that can be positively identified as his work. More than likely took over his mother's trading post after her death. The trading post was an informal meeting place for Cherokee men to socialize and especially drink whiskey. Sequoyah would develop a fondness for alcohol and soon spent much of his time drunk. After a few months, he was rarely sober, neglecting the farm and trading business and spending his money buying liquor by the keg. Eventually, he took up new interests. He began to draw. He took up blacksmithing. And was self-taught, as usual, on these things. So he made his own tools, forge, and bellows. He was soon doing a good business either repairing items or selling items he had created himself. His spurs and bridle bits were in great demand because he liked to decorate them with silver. Although he maintained his store, he both stopped drinking and stopped selling alcohol. So it was good for him. He was able to make a clean break. Came to believe that one of the white people's many advantages was the written language, and it sparked his interest to create the Cherokee written language. In 2008, archaeologist Kenneth B. Tankersley, who is of the Cherokee Nation and an archaeologist for the University of Cincinnati, found carvings from the syllabary in the cave in southeastern Kentucky, where Sequoyah is known to have had relatives. This cave was the traditional burial site of a Cherokee chief, Redbird. Some 15 identifiable Cherokee syllabary systems were found carved into the limestone, accompanied by a date of 1808 or 1818. In addition, there were petroglyphs that appeared to include ancient Cherokee symbols in addition to bears, deer, and birds. So he would move to Alabama. And in 1813 to 1814 served as a warrior of the Cherokee Regiment, commanded by Colonel Gideon Morgan at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend against the Red Sticks, Creek, or Muskogee renegades. His white comrades called him either George Guess or George Gist. And the battle was part of the Creek War, launched by the traditional Creek natives during the War of 1812 to assert their power within the people to expel European Americans. But it was in this time as serving militarily, a lot of the ability to write was cleared to see for Sequoyah. How orders could be sent to different areas without having to yell long, long distances. So yeah. In 1824, he was awarded a medal from the Cherokee National Council and moved from Alabama to Arkansas. And in 1828, when they signed the treaty, 1828, he was one of the old settler delegates that went to Washington, D.C. to sign the treaty that exchanged the Cherokee land in Arkansas for Indian Territory, modern day Oklahoma. Which, if you know anything about Oklahoma, there was a court case a few years ago that said no, the Native Americans still had rights to almost half of Oklahoma due to treaties signed and everything, because there were some people that tried to force certain people out to develop this or that. And yeah, the native peoples were like, no, and it went through the courts and it was like, yeah, this was federal treaty. They have the right to keep their land. So I thought that was interesting. That was really, it made me smile. Hey, technically it was signed as a treaty. It's like, wow. They pushed them, and it's like, no, technically, that's theirs. In 1829, Sequoyah settled in present-day Sallisaw, Oklahoma, with his wife and daughter. In 1838, Cherokees were moved from the southeast to Indian Territory under Chief John Ross. So, 10 years after the Treaty of 1828, I think that was the March of Tears in the 1830s. It was around this area because it was under Andrew Jackson that the Trail of Tears is initiated. And it's only Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Quincy Adams, and then Andrew Jackson. So it's not that far from the founding of the nation under the Articles of Confederation. Because remember, the nation still existed in after independence under the Articles of Confederation for a little bit. But anyway. Sequoyah's syllabary in the order that he originally arranged the characters. Syllabary, I'm sorry. Huh. So you have a mixture of letters that are used in the English language, Arabic numerals, which just means the numbers you think of, because the number 4, so when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all those numbers that we use to count and write it down that way, that's Arabic numerals. Yeah, you try doing math with the Roman numerals. But anyway. Yeah. This video's went on pretty long, but he created an alphabet inspiring, or a syllabary, that inspired other peoples to develop their own. So yeah, you have at the let's enlarge this up a little bit so you can see it better. You can see at the top, it's the a, e, I, o, u, and there's a v sound as a vowel. And then on the left hand side, agahala mana kwa da dia sa waya. So yeah. But you have the G/K sound, ga, ka, ge, gi, go, gu, gv. I'm assuming that's what it is, like gv, huv, luv, nu, kuv, suv, div, tlub, tsub, wuv, iv, or yiv. So yeah. Interesting. But yeah. It became used in documents and everything. And like we already talked about, did a lot of good forming a written language. So there's how it gets to Africa and Asia. There's a literate Cherokee that immigrated to Liberia, which is an African nation, and discussed his people's syllabary. And a Bassa language speaker of Liberia was inspired to create his own syllabary. And other indigenous groups in West Africa followed suit. So yeah. A missionary in China read about the Cree syllabary, which was probably inspired by the Cherokee. Possibly. It may be one they developed on their own. I don't know. Follow the example in the local language, writing in a local language in China. The result of the diffusion of Sequoyah's work has been the development of 21 known written languages, which have been used to write more than 65 different spoken languages. So 21 written languages for more than 65 total languages spoken. So yeah. Very influential in the life of the Cherokee people. But with that, I'll go ahead and end this giant freaking episode. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting these sources and links in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.